Have you ever wondered what sparked humanity's surge towards reason, science, and individualism? Imagine a period that ushered in a tidal wave of intellectual curiosity, a period that forever altered the course of human history. This period, friends, is known as the Enlightenment era, a pivotal juncture where the world began to pivot from the shadows of superstition into a dawn of reason and understanding. The roots of the Enlightenment can be traced back to the intellectual and cultural rebirth of the Renaissance. This was a time when human curiosity began to unshackle itself from the chains of the past, and the world started to see the first glimmers of the coming dawn. The Renaissance, with its focus on humanism, art, and science, provided the fertile soil from which the Enlightenment sprouted. Yet, it was the scientific revolution that truly set the stage for the Enlightenment. During this period, the likes of Galileo Galilei, Isaac Newton, and Johannes Kepler revolutionized the way we understand the universe. They replaced faith-based explanations with empirical observation and mathematical reasoning. The world was no longer a divine mystery, but a machine that could be understood, studied, and predicted. With the scientific revolution, humanity took a decisive step towards the Enlightenment. The shift from faith to reason was not just a change in the way we understand the world. It was a change in the way we understand ourselves. The Enlightenment thinkers believed that the same logic and reason that governed the stars also governed human behavior. This belief laid the foundation for the modern social sciences and the idea of human rights. So why does all this matter? Well, without this critical shift in thinking, our modern world would look vastly different. The Enlightenment planted the seeds of reason, science, and individualism that have since grown into the towering trees of our modern society. As we journey through this era, remember, we are not just studying history, we are studying the dawn of the world as we know it. Without this critical shift in thinking, our modern world would look vastly different. Who were the minds that catalyzed this shift towards reason and enlightenment? Let's delve into the lives and ideologies of some of the key figures of the Enlightenment era. First, we have Voltaire, a French writer and philosopher known for his wit and his advocacy for freedom of speech, religion, and separation of church and state. His writings were a powerful force that helped to propel the Enlightenment across France and beyond. Next up, we find ourselves in England with John Locke, often known as the father of liberalism. Locke believed in the fundamental goodness of humanity. His theory centered on natural rights, which include life, liberty, and property. He argued that the government's role is to protect these rights, a revolutionary idea that still resonates in modern democracies. Onwards to Switzerland, where we meet Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a philosopher and writer who had a significant impact on political, philosophical, and educational thought. His discourse on inequality and the social contract are renowned for their examination of the relationship between individual freedom and societal structures. And finally, we land in Prussia, where Immanuel Kant, one of the central figures of modern philosophy, makes his mark. Kant sought to reconcile reason with experience, and to move beyond what he saw as failures of traditional philosophy and metaphysics. He is remembered for his thought-provoking statement, "Dare to know," which became an emblem for the Enlightenment's attitude towards knowledge. These intellectual giants challenged the status quo, questioned traditional authority, and championed the power of reason. They believed that through rational thought and scientific inquiry, humanity could create better societies and lives. Their contributions to philosophy, politics, and science forever changed the course of human history. From Voltaire's biting satires, Locke's revolutionary ideas on government, Rousseau's exploration of social contracts, to Kant's daring challenge to dare to know, they all played pivotal roles in shaping the Enlightenment era. These thinkers laid the groundwork for a new world where reason reigned supreme. How did the ideas of enlightenment spread across continents and societies? The answer lies in the tools and venues of the time. The spread of Enlightenment ideas was significantly facilitated by the advent of the printing press. This remarkable invention of the 15th century played an instrumental role in disseminating the revolutionary thoughts of Enlightenment thinkers far and wide. Imagine a world where, for the first time, ideas could be mass-produced and distributed. The printing press made knowledge accessible, and ideas that were once confined to the intellectual elite could now reach the masses. In tandem with the printing press, the emergence of public spaces like coffee houses played a pivotal role in the spread of Enlightenment ideas. Coffee houses were the social media platforms of the 18th century. They were bustling hubs where people from all walks of life gathered to discuss the latest news, debate current issues, and share ideas. These informal gatherings sparked lively debates and intellectual conversations, providing fertile ground for the seeds of enlightenment to take root and flourish. The Enlightenment didn't just spread geographically. It permeated various aspects of society, leaving an indelible mark on politics, education, and religion. In politics, Enlightenment ideas championed concepts like separation of powers and individual rights, laying the groundwork for modern democratic systems. In education, the Enlightenment promoted reason, inquiry, and the scientific method, challenging traditional beliefs and encouraging intellectual exploration. And in religion, the Enlightenment ushered in an era of religious tolerance and the separation of church and state, setting the stage for greater freedom of belief. The Enlightenment was not just a period, it was a revolution of ideas. It was a time when the power of ideas and the right to think freely were celebrated, when reason was valued over superstition, and when individuals were empowered to question, to challenge, and to change the world. The spread of Enlightenment ideas was a testament to the transformative power of knowledge and the enduring impact of intellectual freedom. The Enlightenment was not just a period, it was a revolution of ideas. How did Enlightenment reshape the political landscape of the world? It was a period that gave birth to a variety of political philosophies that have shaped the contours of governance and societal structures to this day. One of the most significant political philosophies that emerged from the Enlightenment was democracy. Philosophers like John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau espoused the idea of a social contract, where the power of ruling comes from the consent of the governed. This was a radical shift from the divine right of kings that had dominated political thought for centuries. In addition to democracy, the Enlightenment also planted the seeds for the concepts of human rights and individual liberties. Philosophers like Voltaire and Immanuel Kant argued for the inherent dignity and worth of every individual. They championed the idea that every human being has certain inalienable rights, irrespective of their social status or birth. Secularism, another product of the Enlightenment, challenged the intertwined relationship of religion and state, advocating for the separation of church and state. This idea was instrumental in shaping the modern nation-state, where the power of the state is not derived from or influenced by religious doctrines. Now let's zoom into some key historical events influenced by Enlightenment ideas. The American Revolution, for instance, was deeply rooted in Enlightenment thinking. The Declaration of Independence, with its proclamation that all men are created equal, echoes the Enlightenment's emphasis on human rights and individual liberties. Similarly, the French Revolution was a manifestation of Enlightenment ideas. The revolutionaries, inspired by the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, sought to overthrow the Ancien regime and establish a society based on the principles of Enlightenment. In conclusion, the Enlightenment wasn't just an intellectual movement, it was a profound shift in how societies understood and practiced politics. It challenged the status quo and laid the groundwork for political systems that value the voice of the people, respect individual rights, and separate religion from state affairs. The Enlightenment forever changed how we perceive governance and individual liberties. What has been the lasting impact of the Enlightenment era on our world today? Let's take a journey through time to unravel the enduring legacy of this transformative period. The Enlightenment era, a beacon of intellectual and philosophical exploration, significantly shaped the course of modern science. Its emphasis on empiricism, skepticism, and the questioning of traditional institutions laid the groundwork for scientific revolutions. Its thinkers, such as Isaac Newton and Francis Bacon, championed rationality and scientific methodology, inspiring a new wave of inquiry that continues to propel our understanding of the natural world. Simultaneously, the Enlightenment's profound influence on philosophy cannot be overstated. It championed reason as the primary source of authority, challenging the dominance of faith and superstition. The Enlightenment philosophers like Immanuel Kant and John Locke advocated for personal autonomy, critical thinking, and the pursuit of truth. These ideals remain central to contemporary philosophical thought, shaping our views on morality, ethics, and our place in the universe. But perhaps the most visible and impactful legacy of the Enlightenment is its influence on politics. It was during this era that the concepts of democracy, human rights, and individual liberty truly began to take form. The Enlightenment's core principles of freedom, equality, and justice became the bedrock of modern political systems. The United States Declaration of Independence, the French Revolution, and the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights are all testaments to the Enlightenment's enduring political legacy. However, it's crucial to remember that the Enlightenment wasn't just about grand ideas and revolutions. It was a cultural shift that emphasized education, literacy, and the spread of knowledge. This shift continues to shape our societies, fostering a global culture that values critical thinking, open dialogue, and the pursuit of knowledge. So, as we walk through the corridors of the present, we find the echoes of the Enlightenment era everywhere, from the scientific laboratories examining the mysteries of the universe to the democratic institutions safeguarding our freedoms. The Enlightenment era continues to illuminate our path even today. Was the Enlightenment era all about progress and reason? This is a question that invites us to explore the less illuminated corners of the Enlightenment period. As we delve into the shadows of this era, we find criticisms and limitations that challenge the glittering image of progress and reason. The Enlightenment, while a beacon of intellectual advancement, was steeped in a Eurocentric perspective. Its ideas were cultivated in the salons of Europe and reflected the concerns and aspirations of a specific class and culture. This European bias often led to the disregard of other cultures and perspectives. Enlightenment thinkers viewed the world through a lens of European superiority, often dismissing traditional societies as primitive or underdeveloped. Their ideas, while progressive in their context, were not universally applicable and often failed to acknowledge the richness and diversity of non-European cultures. Moreover, the Enlightenment's emphasis on reason and science was not always used for benevolent purposes. It was during this era that the concept of race was scientifically established, leading to hierarchies of human value based on perceived racial differences. This pseudoscience was then used to justify the brutal realities of slavery and colonialism. Enlightenment ideas of human rights and equality were twisted to serve the interests of the powerful, and the civilizing mission of the colonizers was often a thinly veiled excuse for exploitation and oppression. The Enlightenment was also a period of rapid change and upheaval, which led to social unrest and conflict. The French Revolution, often associated with Enlightenment ideals, resulted in a reign of terror and the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, a dictator who spread his empire across Europe. These dark aspects of the Enlightenment remind us that no historical period, no matter how enlightened, is without its flaws and contradictions. They highlight the importance of understanding the nuances and complexities of history, and of not blindly accepting any era as an unmitigated era of progress. Even the brightest era of history has its shadows. But what have we learned about the Enlightenment era? From our journey back in time, we have unearthed a wealth of knowledge about this pivotal period in history. The Enlightenment, a beacon of intellectual and cultural revolution, began as the dawn of a new era. It was a time when humanity dared to question the established norms, defying the yoke of the past and stepping into uncharted territories of thought and ideology. We've met the formidable figures who were at the helm of this intellectual revolution. Voltaire, Rousseau, and Kant, among others, were the torchbearers of this era. Their writings and philosophies, brimming with novel ideas, challenged the status quo, encouraging people to think and reason for themselves. They were the trailblazers who dared to dream of a world where reason ruled over superstition and evidence triumphed over blind faith. The Enlightenment didn't just stay confined to the drawing rooms of intellectuals. It spread far and wide, transcending borders and cultures. An idea born in the salons of Paris could inspire a revolution across the Atlantic. The power of the printed word, coupled with the spirit of curiosity, made sure that the Enlightenment was not just an isolated phenomenon, but a global movement. Politics, too, was deeply influenced by this era. The Enlightenment laid the foundation for democratic principles and human rights. The ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity, which we hold dear today, were born out of this vibrant period. It championed the concept of a government by the people, for the people, a radical departure from the divine rights of kings and absolute monarchy. But our exploration of the Enlightenment wouldn't be complete without acknowledging its darker side. It was an era that, in its quest for reason and progress, often overlooked the human cost. The same intellectual movement that championed liberty and equality also fueled colonialism and slavery. It's essential to remember that progress often comes with its own set of challenges and contradictions. The legacy of the Enlightenment era is profound and far-reaching. It has shaped our modern world in countless ways, from our political systems to our scientific understanding, from our educational institutions to our cultural norms. The spirit of the Enlightenment, its quest for knowledge, its emphasis on reason and evidence, its belief in the power of the individual, continue to guide us even today. Reflecting on the Enlightenment era, we realize the importance of understanding this period to appreciate our contemporary world. It reminds us of our capacity for progress and change. It shows us the power of ideas and the impact they can have on society. It teaches us that questioning the established norms is not just a right, but a responsibility. In conclusion, the Enlightenment era was a beacon of progress and reason that continues to guide us today. This era, with its triumphs and contradictions, its heroes and villains, its light and shadows, is a testament to the complexity and richness of human history. It's a chapter we must remember, for it holds the key to understanding our present and shaping our future.